You never see it come back.
Neo, you forgot to put air holes. So this YouTuber called Super Eyepatch Wolf released a video on Do Spoilers Ruin a Story? He is a pretty good YouTuber. I do recommend you check out his videos. But he came to the conclusion that spoilers do not ruin the story, but he won't spoil it for people that don't want to be spoiled, because that would be messed up to change people's perception of a story if they don't want it to be changed like that. In fact, most of the data he shows in the video shows that people actually enjoy the story more with the spoilers than without. But he doesn't really go and explain why this is. He shows the information showing that this happens, but he doesn't explain the why. Today I'll be talking about why people enjoy it more while being spoiled rather than not being spoiled. And yes, spoilers do ruin it, but not for the reason you think. I'll be explaining why as well. If you haven't seen his video yet, go check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. It will make my job a lot easier to explain if you just go watch that video. 3, 2, 1, get you back good, let's get started. Just imagine being in a story with 10 people and there was a murder. Everyone has motive to kill him and everyone's acting suspicious, but you can't figure out who it is. So the main character, being a detective, is trying to figure out who was the killer. So he goes and questions everyone in the room to find out who they are, what their relationship is to him, and why they would want to kill him. Everyone besides a few people will probably present the reason why they would want him dead. The few people with no motivation will be seen as cleared through the detective's eyes. And when we are watching the story, we are watching the story through the detective's eyes. You'll find out through the interview that some people are lying to you. You won't know that they are lying to you yet, but you'll figure it out later. You'll probably figure out they are lying because they are covering up a different crime they came to commit or anything like that. One not as serious as murder, but something to get back at them. After questioning everyone, you will figure out who has an alibi or not. Usually around 4 people of the 10 will not have an alibi, so they are the ones that are suspicious. Of the 4 people that look suspicious, your attention will be immediately drawn to the person whose story has a plot hole. The person with the holes inside their story will definitely be the person who came to commit a smaller crime. Because they didn't think anyone was going to kill him, they didn't make much of a story for their alibi. After that person is being questioned, they will start pointing fingers at everyone else. Everyone else will start pointing their fingers back at them, until everyone is for sure that that person is the one who did it. At this point, they will admit their crime, say what actually happened and what they came here to do, the reasons why they did what they did, and they're ready for their punishment. After they finish explaining all that and what they did seems to check out, they will have to start investigating the other 3 people. They will start pointing blame at the one who seems the most innocent and isn't talking at all, because the one who was most suspicious was actually innocent. They'll be using this as a counterbalance for the story. After she is found innocent, there will only be 2 more people to investigate. After seeing the one who was most suspicious and least suspicious innocent, the next person you're going to go to is the one driving the conversation. They are clearly the one who did it because they're trying to shift the blame off of them. After being found innocent, there's only 1 person left to question. The last person will be sweating buckets while everyone surrounds them, and then boom, the lights go off. Everyone starts screaming, and then you hear a stab. The lights come back on, and they are dead. After doing another investigation for this murder, they find out who the real killer is. The reason they killed the last person is because the last person actually knew who the real killer was. You'll find out that this murder was planned way before this party even took place. How they blended in the background without being noticed and pulling the strings and making everyone think that they are not suspicious, while they are actually the ones manipulating everyone to do what they want. The first time you're watching a story like this, you're watching everyone in the front and how they are reacting to everyone and everything. You're trying to figure out who was the one who actually did the killing and who is just lying. The story will be like a puzzle for you. You will put yourself into the detective mindset and you'll be trying to figure out who was the one that killed way before anyone else or before the story even finishes. But what if you already know who was the killer before the story even started? The story will be ruined as you trying to be a detective, but what it will be is you as a spectator and you already know who the killer is. You'll be watching how they operate, what their train of thought is, their motivations, and if it all makes sense, and how it came to that conclusion. If the story is ruined for you, you are completely looking at the story from a different angle. You can never go back to watching the story as if you never had knowledge to it, but you can always go back to the story for after having knowledge to it. When you are spoiled to a story, you're pretty much enjoying the ride as it goes. When you're not spoiled to a story, you're actually building the ride as it goes with your mind. It is more interactive this way, but if you're spoiled, you can actually just sit back and enjoy it more. Stories like this, I feel the creator actually built to watch the story twice at least. The first time is to put yourself into the detective mindset. The second time is for you to follow the actions of the murderer. The only few shows that spoil the ending inside the show itself is Mirai Nikki, Higurashi, Gurren Lagann, and not so much Gurren Lagann because they completely changed how the ending was going to be. Well, these are the three off the top of my head, but I'll be talking about Higurashi. And the reason I won't be talking about Mirai Nikki is because even though it does spoil, it doesn't spoil all the way. And what I mean by it doesn't spoil all the way is that the reveal it shows just makes the twist ending part not surprise, but it still has enough to make you not know what the very end is. And the reason I'm going to be using Higurashi is because Super Eyepatch Wolf said you can't go into a story being spoiled and unspoiled at the same time. While this may be true, Higurashi is probably the closest story to ever do that. Technically, I will and won't be spoiling Higurashi because the creator himself spoils Higurashi within the first 30 seconds of every arc. When it comes down to major spoilers, that's when I'll give a timestamp and pretty much anything that isn't part of the 30 seconds that the creator spoils. I'll do my best to make my point without showing the spoilers for Higurashi until it gets to the point where I'm actually explaining the spoilers. So in Higurashi, characters do die. You see this within the first seconds of the anime. But then you also see more important things. You see who dies, you see who kills them, and you see how they killed them. So this is forcing you to watch the show through the spoiled view, the view I explained before. You are now looking on yourself as the main character. You're trying to figure out why it ended like that. You're going through, seeing your actions, see if it makes sense. You're going through, seeing their actions, see if it makes sense. And you're kind of just watching how the story plays out while knowing how the ending is. For every arc, this is a simple rinse and repeat. You see who it is killing, you see how they die, and you see who is killed. The only real difference is how the arc actually plays out and whether or not you will be the victim or you will be the murderer. Each arc gets you to think of one way, and that way is through the eyes of whoever it is following for that arc. Because why not have their arc tell the point of view through their eyes? Because during that arc they are the main character, so everything that revolves around them will actually be shown. Why have you show through anyone else's eyes? You might as well just only have it on that one character. Well, Higurashi's a bit smarter than that, and you will find out why in a second. But I must say, it is now going to get to major spoiler territory, so if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to whatever I'm going to put as the timestamp. Well, you have been warned. 3, 2, 1. Most things you see in Higurashi were a lie. The story tricks you to think you are supposed to be watching in the second view that I explained before, but in actuality you're still supposed to be watching in the first view. You'll see this in the first arc with Keiichi, Rina, and Mion. You'll eventually learn through the other arcs that everything the curse will do. The paranoia is so extreme that you will see things that aren't actually there. During the first arc, in the first way has been told, you would have believed that Mion and Rina were the ones that were crazy, and Keiichi was actually just protecting himself. That is not true. Keiichi was actually the one who was crazy, and Rina and Mion were actually trying to help him. Well, not the first instance of his paranoia. When they told him that there was something special for the food, that's when his paranoia kicked in from the sickness. The paranoia hit him so hard that he perceived that there was needles inside the food. When he was with his group of friends, they were all wondering why he was acting so strange and why he was doing the things he was doing. If they were really doing that, they wouldn't be asking those things, they wouldn't be saying those things, they wouldn't be doing any of that at all. They would just be doing more to push him more over the edge. When he went to go give the police evidence of the needles he ate, he couldn't find the needles, so he's either thinking they came in and stole them, or he accidentally got rid of them, which is not true. Those needles were never there to begin with. The very end is explained through his eyes. Rina and Mion are about to kill him by injecting him with something, and they are definitely laughing like crazy and about to kill him. But this is far from the truth. Rina and Mion actually know what's wrong with him. Inside that shot is an antidote. His paranoia makes him think that they are laughing at him and about to kill him, and in fact they're actually holding him down trying to get him the antidote. In the end, his paranoia gets the better of him. He breaks free and kills them. Now you think you can watch the show through the second point of view. Well, you're still wrong. You find out later arcs are lies as well, but in different ways. Almost every single arc there is a lie in one way or another, and you have to figure out how the unique lie happens for that arc. The arcs are connected to each other one way or another, even if it's just to get information to see what happened on the other arc. To find out the extent of how crazy Keiichi was in the first arc, you actually have to look at a different arc. because in a different arc it shows how crazy he can go. In the abusive arc, Keiichi actually tracks down the uncle and kills him. Just grabs the bat and beats him to death. Then he drags the body into the forest, digs a giant hole, and then buries the body. Except for one thing, none of this actually happened. Keiichi will ask about the uncle and find out he's actually still alive and well and still abusive. In disbelief, he actually goes and tries to dig up the body that he buried, except for one thing, the police show up. The police order him to keep on digging. After a lot of digging, they didn't find any body. The police jump in to help. After a lot more digging, they still didn't find a body, and declare that he was just digging for a hobby. Later, he will actually meet the uncle and see that he's still alive. Now I know what you might be thinking. So he killed the uncle, but the uncle actually wasn't there. There was no body, so he was pretty much fighting the air. And he went and dug the air. Well, this is still not true. While he may have thought he killed the uncle, what he really did was go to the festival with his friends. He was even there long enough, or was skilled enough while not even knowing it, to actually win them the big prizes. It completely rewrote his whole memory of that night. How you figure out that the shot they had at the very end of Arc 1 was actually the antidote is actually through Rena Ryuga's arc. I could keep going on and on about how every arc is connected to each arc and how there is no wasted arc. But I think I made my point now. The reason why Higurashi is spoiled yet unspoiled is because it tells a story, but that story is a lie. And the other point I had at the beginning is yes, spoilers ruin the story, just not in the way you think. I haven't really told you about the third way of watching, but the third way of watching doesn't really connect with this point. The third viewing is all about theories and deeper meanings behind the story. I pretty much don't talk about deeper meanings or anything like that to any story without watching it 3 times. I'm not 100% sure if this is actual canon and this is how you're supposed to perceive Higurashi, because it could just be a theory that just lines up very well for me. But this is the way I watched it many years ago, back when I watched it, and I feel it's probably one of the most brilliant ways of storytelling that I've ever seen in anime, and I feel sometimes it just doesn't get enough credit. Me, I don't know if y'all want me to do an explanation of every single arc in Higurashi. Each arc would get their own video. I would definitely not do it consecutively though. Each explanation of each arc will show what actually happened, what is the lie, and who is in the wrong, who went crazy, and who was just trying to help. I'll probably go back into a more comedy-based video next video, and I'll more than likely get Neo to help me for the comedy. I would highly recommend going and subscribing to Super Eyepatch Wolf. He does really great videos, and if you like the content I put out, then maybe consider subscribing to me as well. And with that, I bid you adieu. Thanks for watching.